You know what? Hold on one second.
We need to make.
Gotta
Lisa-
wait for Lisa, right?
Yep. Let me. Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa. I'm here.
The meeting to order. So I would like to call the June 21st Hopkinton Town Council meeting to order with a moment of silent meditation and a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
The flag of the United States of America
To the republic
and to the republic
one
which
nation
stands
under God,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
justice
and
for
liberty,
for all.
justice for all.
Steve, you're on mute.
All right, so nobody heard me read that? I'm going to read it all over again. Okay. All right, up first is a consent agenda. Approved Town Council meeting minutes of June 7th, 2021. Accept the following monthly financial activity report from the town clerk. Approve refund due to overpayment by taxpayer on 2021 real estate taxes. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Scott Bill Hurst, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, I have
Karen
a
Davis, I second it.
excellent. All in favor?
Hurst, aye.
Carry
Davis, I.
Marvel, I.
And Moffat, aye. Motion passes. Consent agenda is approved. Up next in old business. Tonight, we're going to make a decision. Number one, discuss, consider, and vote on a motion to either approve or reject an amendment to Chapter 134 zoning ordinance, Section 5, district use table to prohibit any additional gas diesel stations following the completion and closing of the public hearing on June 7th, 2021. Proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance, Appendix A, Chapter 135, Section 5. Hold on one, okay. I'm sorry, I apologize. Use regulations are shown in bold italics. So all the council members have this in front of them, I'm sure, or have read it, have thought about it, and have some thoughts regarding that.
Yeah, I have some thoughts there, Mr. President.
Okay, sure. Go ahead, Council Gary.
Here's my question. Maybe everybody misunderstood what I was saying about new gas stations. Okay. Say if you're a gas station, you have existing tanks, but you're not using them. Okay. Or say somebody like, say Spicer's. Okay. All of a sudden, they decide to pull chocks like Speedway did in Richmond. Pull chocks. Still a gas station. Are we going to allow them, if somebody comes in and buys it, are we going to allow them to be a gas station?
So are you, just so I understand what you're saying, Councilor Geary, so are you saying will this allow a transfer of ownership?
Yeah, I'm saying, say if somebody like Spicer, like
Yes.
Speedway across from Cumberland Farms 2 or 3 years ago, they just decided to pull chocks, close the gas station down for 2 or 3 years. If somebody comes in and buys it, are we going to be able to allow them to be a gas station? Or is that going to be considered a new gas station? And if somebody
It's a non-conforming use. So from what I understand, after a year, it's no longer that. Again, that may be a question for either the solicitor or maybe Jim Lanfear if he is on.
Mr. President, Steve Seipel, the solicitor here. I would say that generally, if gas stations were to become a prohibited use, then any currently existing gas station would be able to continue. If the use as a gas station was abandoned, then generally it would not be able to be reestablished as a gas station, and abandonment is can be kind of a tricky issue, but generally if you intentionally shut down a business and stop using it for that purpose, then that would generally constitute abandonment. So no, if a gas station closed, went out of business, completely stopped functioning as a gas station, probably you'd have an abandonment, and it wouldn't, if some time passed, someone new came in, they probably would be unable to reopen it. But that's just speaking in generalities, and every case would be specific case by case situation.
Thank you, Attorney. That's exactly what I'm getting at. I just we kind of want to leave the door open. I would like to see the door open a little bit, maybe some wordage on this a little bit better than just no new gas stations, because that just cuts it right out. And I know what everybody's back in mind. They're still concerned about Love's or something like that, or the aqua filter. I get that. Okay, we all want to be safe. But to totally close it out, say, never again, just closes the door on everything. That's all I got, Mr. President.
Take it. What's that?
I said that's all I got.
That's all you got? Okay.
I'd like to hear what some of the other council's thoughts are.
Sure. I will give you my thought. My thought really is, I understand 100% your concern, Mike, with a Spicer or someone that, obviously if they were to close and not be able to open up and not have any more gas stations. But I look at it hard, and I really try to think about places where we could put gas stations. And I don't think Ashway would support another gas station. I just, and then I'm thinking Route 3, that's all we got, exit 2. And then, we don't have any exits, past that, exit 1, obviously. But I just don't see the need for any more gas stations in town. I don't think of it as being business unfriendly. I just think it's a certain business that I don't think we need any more in town. If we didn't have the 3 or 4 in Wyoming, which is, we're talking if the town border was another quarter mile larger all the way around, we'd have almost 9 gas stations in town. So I just, for me, where I stand is I just don't see the need for another gas station in town. And that's all I have.
Well, Councilman Harris, I'm not really in favor of voting for this. I think that certainly electric cars are coming in the future. But the way I look at it, I don't think we really need to make a decision based upon what a neighboring town does. I think we have to do what Hopkinton does. We have 2 gas stations that are in my section of town. One across from Pete's Grocery and across Spicer's across from Brick Oven. There's none in the northern part of town. I don't know what the future of the old Edwards garage is going to be as far as gas, or where Barrett's is in Hope Valley. I know there's not a lot of places you could put a garage on Route 3. But I don't really know if it makes sense to approve this, especially when we don't really know, although there might be some projections when we're going to go totally electric cars, and but we don't really have an issue with a lot of gas stations coming in. There might be an exception sometime in the future. I know there was a concern about the Love situation, and I'm glad it was beat. But I don't think, and I would want input from the solicitor, whether or not that would be a legitimate concern, and was also suggested to me by a constituent that if you limit the size of the tank, you could probably regulate the size of a gas station. I'm just putting that out there. If most of the cars or half the cars now were electric or hybrid, I would be more receptive to it. But what is the point of voting for this when most people operate vehicles that operate on gasoline, some do on diesel, and we still need gasoline, those who need gasoline for lawnmowers and other engines. So I'm just putting that out for your consideration.
Thank you, Councilor Hurst. I would just like to add too, I probably drive by 15, 20 gas stations on my way to work, and I work in Groton, and I mean, easily 15 gas stations. I just want to reiterate that I don't see the need for another gas station. I just
I'd like to ask one question because I don't want to dominate
Sure.
the conversation, but a lot of times, and not that we have to do what other communities do, but how many communities have this type of restriction enforced now in other cities, nearby towns that are limiting no more gas stations in their towns, Westerly, Charlestown, Richmond, any of those other towns? Does anybody know?
Well, I can say, Scott, that I can't remember the last time there was a brand new gas station built in Westerly. And again, we don't have to reflect what other towns are doing, what other towns have going on, but we also have to be cognizant of our own situation, and does it fit into our town per se, to have another gas station. I just don't and I don't think we're hurting anybody, or with my vote, that I would be hurting anybody because it was not another gas station in Hopkinton.
Well, I don't have a problem because I know electric is coming and we certainly should be prepared. But a lot of times certain dates are never met, and I don't, and I have, I heat by oil, so that apparently is going to go out. So I'm going to have to make a change, and there's going to be a lot of transitions, which are going to be costly transitions. Anytime you make a transition, I would like to ask Attorney Seipel if he knows of any case with any of his municipal clients that he represents. He knows of any communities that have out and out banned further establishment of gas stations in those municipalities. I apologize for putting him on the spot, but that's an important question.
Hi, Councilman. I'm not aware of any other towns that prohibit gas stations. But I would just comment that there is a section of the Zoning Enabling Act that has a list of uses that must be allowed, and gas station is not one of those. So it can be done. I'm not aware of any place that has done it.
I thank you for your response, sir.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion?
Just make sure you get public discussion, please.
Sure. If not hearing any more discussion amongst the council members, I would like to offer a time for the public to respond to this. If you would like to make a comment, *9 on your telephone if you're calling in, or just raise your hand on your computer. Okay. Mr. Hale, just please state your name for the record.
Hi, Clifford Hale, 211 Chase Hill Road. I was just curious. I thought that there was that the planning board actually provided an opinion on this, and I was, and I apologize if this was mentioned at a previous meeting, but I was wondering if you guys would mind voice or stating what the planning board's opinion was on this matter. That's all.
The planning board's opinion was to allow with a special use permit for gas stations.
And so, I mean, I understand kind of both sides of this, but it seems to me that closing the door entirely on any future gas stations in town might be a little extreme. And so, like, the idea of special permit issue seems like a reasonable way to go, in the sense of now we can actually address this in a case-by-case manner versus just saying, okay, no more gas stations forever. I mean, I don't know, I just think we should try to take maybe a little bit more of a measured approach to addressing this. That's all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment? All right, I don't see any other hands. Do I have a motion to either approve or reject?
Mr. President, Scott Bill Harris, I make a motion that we reject a change in this proposal.
Is there a second?
Council Gary seconds, Council Hurst's motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Hurst, aye.
Gary, aye.
All against?
Marvel against.
Davis against.
And Moffett against? So Councilor Hurst's motion does not pass. Now, Mr. Seipel, do we need to now make a motion to approve it? Or is that an approval?
No, you should make another motion.
Okay, all right. Do I have a motion to approve?
This is Council Marvel. I'll make a motion to approve the amendment of the use category.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Davis second.
With a second, all in favor?
Marvel, aye.
Davis, aye.
Moffett, aye. Okay, not hearing any more. That's 3 ayes. Motion passes.
Don't you, at least for the record, ask for no's so we can publicly vote no?
Sure, absolutely. Are there any no's? Are there any against it?
Scott Bill Harris, no.
Gary, no.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, up next is finalize town manager job posting and authorize the town clerk to post the position. All right, Lisa in our packets has sent us some information from a prior hiring process. I just kind of want to flush out, well, first of all, I want to start off saying that I really hope Brian Rosso applies for the position. And B, that we didn't have to, not that we have to advertise the job, but I think, based on our town ordinances kind of being, having it both ways, that we should move forward in a process where we do advertise the position. And then we give authorization for Lisa to do it. But with that, looking through all the old information, the pay scale is obviously, changed since then. Considerably, considering what the last town manager made. So I don't know if we should have a discussion on that, if that's something we should discuss. I know, looking at what was prepared for us before, regarding, I do know the ordinance states that we need to state a rate of pay also. So, we have to kind of put out exactly what's needed to attract the right candidate.
Mr. President, is the current pay structure aligned with the new position we're offering?
So the previous town manager is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So this is kind of where I'm at with it, thinking wise. I would say that, we're not going to pay less than that. I don't see that happening. I just didn't know if anyone else had anything that, to offer regarding that.
Steve?
Yes, Sharon.
Yeah, I mean, the part of what Bill McGarry's was salary was based on the fact of how long he was in the position. So I'm not necessarily thinking you have to pay exactly what he earned last year. I just was wondering if there was a range.
Well, I would say, I mean, the range that we're looking at here, based on what Lisa sent us, and this is back in 2009, and I
It
want to
needs to
say,
be more than that. I agree.
right. So, I mean, based on the averages, for the area, I mean, Bill, I think out of the 3 local towns was making the least amount. So, I mean, we've got to look at, all the departments, I mean, it is the town manager, it is the person who is, obviously the face of the town, who is going to be responsible for managing the town, managing the departments and stuff like that. So, I mean,
I would just like to know what the other 2 town managers are making, Richmond and Charlestown.
Why are we worried about what other towns do?
I just want to know. I can ask the question.
And I can ask the question too. Why are we worried about what other towns do?
I'd like to know the answer
right. Well,
before that's all.
Maybe, Councilman Hurst, maybe we should put the app, we could wait another 2 weeks. We've waited this long. What concerns me right now is getting this done right. And what I've been thinking about is what we should put in the job description.
sure.
And we can have what Charleston and Hopkinton, Charleston and Richmond and Narragansett and West Greenwich is an administrator part-time, I believe, or Coventry or any town similar to Hopkinton, and do a better job, and then we can figure out what the range is, because I guess we don't have a range tonight. And if we're going to do it good, we might as well do it well.
Steve?
Yes, Sharon.
I think that the ad that was put in 2009, I think the ad says reasonable amount of things. I think it's fine. I just wanted to know what the range is.
Right.
Currently.
So I can tell you this now, Sharon, based on the municipal salary survey at the end of 2018 in Rhode Island, the annual base salary for Charlestown was $122,000. The average in hold on here, and just so you know, the other towns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say, and this is 2008, and I looked up recently. I'm sorry, 2018, and I looked up recently Richmond. Richmond here says 78,000, but I know that's it's a little more than what Mr. McGarry was making before he left. So I know that that's definitely not wrong, because I've seen it other places. What they listed for in 2009 is not even ballpark for what's happening now. You have,
And the current pay is like 100 and something. I gotta look at the.
it's 100, and I think I want to say the current base pay is like $103,000-$104,000. That's what Mr. McGarry left as the salary.
Okay.
So
Then
the range is more so like what's the most we're gonna pay? You know what I mean? Like, what's the most we're gonna offer? You know what I mean? Because if we're not gonna offer, it doesn't mean we have to pay that. You know what I mean? It's just, that's, we're kind of defining a range of pay, like where are we willing to go to hire the right person? I agree with you. The description, that was presented to us here in our packets, regarding job description and all of that,
Mm-hmm.
is fairly straightforward.
Right. So at this point, would you entertain a range of 90 to 105?
Yeah, I mean up to 105, 110. I mean, I just want to make sure we're getting the right candidates. You know what I mean? So, I think, I mean, that sounds reasonable to me. I mean, we can have some discussion.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
I
there
mean,
any discussion?
I think we can always put in, Steve, I think we can always put in something based on experience. Have you been a town manager before? Blah, blah, blah. Don't forget other
Yeah.
towns don't forget other towns like Charlestown and Wesley taking a buttload more taxes than we do, and they can afford it a little bit more than we.
Sure, absolutely.
You might want to start low, like 85,000 and go up to 110, 120. I mean, based upon experience. And you might take into consideration a degree, although I believe a person should be judged on, after a certain amount of education, I think experience is really important. And we all will have our biases, whether we think people should have municipal experience versus private sector. But I just like to go back for a minute. One of the things that concerns me about town managers, I believe a town manager has to realize they're not the mayor, and the town council is sets the policy. And I think sometimes that is forgotten by some town managers, maybe not all. But the only concern I had on the Wesley Sun ad is, and we don't have to put it in there, but I plan to talk to the candidates, familiarize themselves with town charter and ordinances, and understand the role of a town manager, because I'm just concerned that we could have a situation where the town manager actually runs the town, and we know from our council manager form of government, the town council sets the policy and the manager does the day-to-day maintaining the running of the town. So I'm very leery of somebody coming in as town manager and I think they're the mayor and they run everything, and the town council is basically a rubber stamp. Maybe that's an unwarranted fear, but it's something I think about.
This is Councilor Moffett. I just want to reflect what Scott says as far as, when we do, whoever does become the town manager, that it obviously, that the town council sets the agenda and sets the policy and stuff like that. And I think that is a very important distinction.
I think, Council President, I think what Councilor Hurst is saying is the town manager needs to keep in mind he works for us and shouldn't be a full-time drill sergeant for everybody that works for the town. That's all.
Absolutely.
No, but one of the things about leadership, and of course I'm interested in history, and biography is a very main thing I like to read. And some people are outstanding on paper, but they just don't have the leadership skills. But some people, they will try to, if you give them an inch, they try to take over the whole show. And that's what concerns me, and you can't really decide by paper. You got to talk to people they've worked with and stuff like this. People that have had interactions with these people, so you can draw a conclusion about the type of person you're going to get and their personalities, which is very important in leadership position. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Scott?
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead, Sharon. Yes, go ahead, Sharon.
I would think, Scott, maybe we could just put a sentence in that ad, so it's just very clear that in Hopkinton, the town council sets the policy and the town manager runs the every day. I mean, you could just put that right out there, so there's no question.
Or just have something basic like Hopkinton is a council manager form of government.
Yes.
And because they charge you a lot of money, but You know, like, and you really can't compare us with Charleston and Richmond because they have town administrators. We have town manager because the manager in Hopkinton has more power than the administrator in Charlestown and Richmond. In fact, the administrator in Charleston, when they hire a chief of police, they get involved in that. Town council has nothing to do with hiring the chief of police in a town like Hopkinton, for example.
That's fine if you want to say that. I just think, in a way, what you said, that just to say that Hopkinton is a
Council manager form of government.
yeah. I don't know that everybody will know what that means, but you can.
Well,
you
only
can,
professionals that are reading those ads should know what it means.
Okay.
I mean,
Then
somebody that's
I
going to
will
apply
back
for
you to put that in.
chief executive office in a municipality, you're not going to have John Doe apply for that. Or you hope not.
All right. No, that's fine. Whatever you feel happy, whatever words you feel happy putting in there, I'll go along with.
Okay, I want to include the term Hopkinton is a council manager form of government. That's simple.
Yep.
And so, obviously, pay range up to, depending on experience, we had touched on ranges, 85 to 115,000, I think. Does that
seems-
sound?
And why don't you do 120 just to be safe? You don't really know what the poll is going to be like, too.
Right.
Well, I will tell you guys, in my career, I've had a lot of jobs and answered a lot of ads. And people don't even look at the lower number. If you put that 120 up there, that's what they're going to be looking for.
Sure.
I'm just going to tell you that.
We'll put 115 if,
All right.
or you can always use the term negotiable.
Well, that's based on experience, based on qualifications, based on other things. I mean, you're going to have, candidates who are going to be stronger suited in certain areas, who are going to be, just for example, stronger maybe on the public works side, maybe stronger on the finance side. I don't know. You know what I mean? There's going to be someone hopefully that's well-rounded, and is good at all of that. But for sure. I mean, we're gonna decide that. We're gonna put the ad out. We're gonna have the pay range, and at the end of the day, we're gonna be the ones who judge the, judge who we think is gonna be the best fit for the town and what's gonna work for us, and someone who can maybe kind of understand the dynamics that make up Hopkinton.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll go for the 85 to 115. That's
Okay.
fine.
All right. Do we have a consensus on that? Can we?
Yeah, I'd go along with that.
All right.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so with that being said, so we've had discussion. All right, so I will reach out to Lisa and just square away all the details with her, and then
Hey,
and then have a sample ad maybe put in our packet for us.
Mr.
Okay,
President.
sounds good. This is Lisa. I'll draw up the changes that you decided on this evening and get that out to you, and you can review before we post it.
Excellent. Councilor Geary, you had a question?
Yeah, I don't want to beat this up anymore. I know it's getting late.
Yeah,
But
yeah. No, for
I know
sure.
I know we did local listings. Are we going to do like a nationwide list or anything like that on any of the job fairs? Because
I would suggest that we do. Because the cost of advertising is through the roof, crazy. There's a couple. Lisa has suggested the League of Cities and Towns,
Okay.
which would be a good one, and then the Wesley Sun, which I'm sure there's going to be. A lot of these job seeker websites, they'll pull from all these newspapers. You know what I mean? And
the only reason I say this is Wesley's town manager, who's a veteran, came out of Illinois.
sure.
There you go. So that's all I'm gonna say. Whatever you want to do as far as price range, I'm good to go with that. Whatever Lisa's magical things she can do, let's do it.
Excellent. All right. I'll be in contact, Lisa.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we have discuss, consider, and possibly vote to appoint Clifford Hale to Potter Hill Dam Information Committee. Is there any discussion?
I prefer that Mr. Hale is currently an alternate member to the Stewardship Council, and I'm sure that both him and Ms. Calderon can take stands or have influence on the Pawcatuck River as it stands now, and I think we should keep that spot open for somebody else that might be interested. And Mr. Heil is already a representative to the River Council. He's also an alternate member of the zoning board, and we should let somebody else have a shot. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Scott. Is there any other discussion? Anything else?
Yes, Steve.
Yes, Sharon, go ahead.
Okay. Clifford Hale is the one who sent out more and more information about the Potter Hill Dam. And this is not something that, I mean, this committee, if he's interested in participating, I welcome his participation. This is not, I think we only have 5 right now, correct?
No, there are 6.
Okay. Well, I didn't see anybody else jumping in, so I would support him. I would make a motion to appoint him to the Potter Hill Dam Information Committee.
Is there a second?
This is Bob Marvel. I'll second.
Unless there's more discussion.
I was just going to say that I agree with Sharon that you know, he wants to participate. He's already provided a lot of information, and I don't see anyone else, you know, looking to take that spot. So why leave it open if someone who's totally capable of doing it can fill it now, so that we can, you know, get a full committee and get them going.
All right, this is Councilor Moffett. I 100% support Mr. Hale for this position. Like Bob said, you know, why leave it open when, you know, we're fortunate enough to have a person in town who has expertise in things that we don't, who's willing to step up and you know, share his knowledge, share his resources. You know, I think he'll have a lot. He'll bring a lot to the table. I think he will offer a jump start to most of what's happening. So you know, with that, I support it.
I would like to ask what Councilor Gary's sentiments are.
I mean, I don't have a problem with him being on the committee. I mean, I think he's, you know, but definitely anybody that steps up, you need to take a look at, right? That's, you know, that's kind of a rule of thumb. But he does sit on the watershed already. I mean, you know, I don't have a problem with being on the committee, but it's kind of like a dual-edged sword. He sits on one side, then he sits on another. So I don't know.
All I know is, I'm going to vote for Mr. Heil, though I have reservations. He's certainly to the left of me, but I'm not going to go there. But I was going to vote against him, but I will vote for him tonight. I told a couple people I was going to vote no. I'll vote yes, and I'm sure I heard about it, but I will go along with Mr. Heil tonight. Thank you.
All right. Well, Mr. Hale has his hand up, so I think in fairness, I'm going to allow him to speak. Go ahead, Chip, if you could just state your name again for the record.
Yeah, sure. Clifford Hale. The reason that I offered this was I had already been participating in several of the Potter Hill Dam public information sessions as a member or the alternate member for Hopkinton on this Wood Pawcatuck Wild and Scenic River Stewardship Council. We also had our own workshop with the people involved with the project. So I completely understand that you might want, you know, that believe me, I encourage any member of the community to get involved in these things. I just thought since I I actually saw it as an asset, that I was because I was already doing stuff for the Stewardship Council. Some of the work that I was doing for them might be useful for the town. And I do want to acknowledge that there are different goals from that, the council versus the town goals. And I try to be very cognizant of the different purview of the Stewardship Council versus what this committee is supposed to be. And I've even had some lengthy discussion with other members of the Stewardship Council where I kind of sometimes have to really struggle to make the distinction where am I going to stick up for the town of Hopkinton or am I going to worry about the goals of the Stewardship Council? So that's all. I'm really looking to just try to help out here. I realize that this whole situation has put Hopkinton in a difficult situation. And I was just hoping to be able to provide some additional information and effort to it.
Well, I would like to respond and just say that I'm going to vote for you. The Stewardship Council can take a position on the Potter Hill Dam because it deals with Wood Pocket body, and the dam committee can undoubtedly take stands. And so actually it gives you two venues for speaking, but I'll go along with it. I do have reservations about it. I did go to the organization meeting the other night over to the town hall, and I'm trying to be, I'll be positive, but now you're going to be on three things. But anyways, I'll vote for you. Thank you.
Hey, Chip, it's Mike.
And Mike.
What's your thoughts on taking down the dam? Do you think it needs to come down? If it does come down, is there something we can put in there similar to what they did over by BDA? Or
well,
really?
so here's my thinking. If we take this look, I really like let's back out from this. And 2010 was actually a bit of a wake-up call for the impacts of what that dam could actually have, or the flood risk associated with that dam, right? So if we step way back and we say there's a flood risk mitigation issue here, to me, in my mind, that supersedes everything else, right? Because there's risk of life and there's risk to property. And so I don't want to diminish the impacts to people, the recreation. I don't want to diminish the impact to property values. Right below that flood risk thing, and maybe even equal, is the impact to the drinking water, the people's wells that abut that, and the impact. And it's very clear to me that there's going to be an impact to the wells. And so those two things, in my mind, what needs to be done is we need to put the brakes on this, or I'm not sure we can put the brakes on it, but I think what we need to be doing as a town is like really making and mitigating the impacts to this town. I'll be honest, I think that dam's going to come down. I think the way they've written that grant, the way they got that money, again, this is, I don't mean to overspeak this, but it seems to me that they're going to take that dam down. And so I think the most important thing that we can be doing as a town right now is figuring out how we can diminish the negative impact that it's going to have on the town. And from what I've heard in these meetings already, in the past, they have drilled new wells for people, right? So that's one thing that we should be chasing right now. The cost of this project, in my mind, is not just removing that well. There needs to be a budget line item that drills new wells for everybody that is impacted by this. And that project should not get approved or should not move forward until when they look at their total budget, that budget must include the mitigation part of that. Now, having said so, when we look at the Bradford Dam, right away, when I first saw it, I'm like, well, when they took down the Bradford Dam, they didn't have a change in water level that they're proposing for this Potter Hill Dam. The reason that they're not proposing that right now, and this might be another angle that we could play, is it's more, first of all, it's a more expensive option versus just taking down this dam. And the second aspect of it is that there's actually maintenance associated with it. So they're looking at the maintenance fees. And so that's a whatever organization, whether it's NOAA, that's actually maintaining. And when I say maintenance, they're looking at ensuring that there is fish passage. So one of the big issues with the current Potter Hill Dam is that there's a lot of effort going into checking up on the fish passage and all that, and it's not working functionally and all that sort of stuff. So I'm sorry, I'll wrap this up real
Yeah,
quick.
please do, Chip, just because I don't want to get in
Yep.
too far into the weeds on this
Yep.
because it's not on the agenda to
I know.
talk about this. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So my point is I think there are things that we can be doing as this town. We should not just be throwing our hands up and say, get us more involved. We need to be in these discussions. And that means actively being in the discussions. And that's what I'm hoping to do on this committee. That's all. Sorry.
No worries. Thank you.
Chip, thanks. Wow, line item for wells. Sounds like you got a little conservative in there, Chip, but I'm good. Steve, I'm good with it. He's got my vote.
All right, excellent. All right, so I had a motion by Sharon and I believe a second by Bob.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so with that being said, all in favor of appointing Chip Hale to the Potter Hill Dam Committee?
First, aye.
Marvel, aye.
Oh,
Davis,
Gary,
aye.
And Moffat, aye. Motion passes. Chip Hale is appointed to the Potter Hill Dam Information Committee. Thank you, Chip. Okay, up next, we have in new business, we have discuss, consider, and vote to adopt financial resolutions and tax resolutions for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. The Town of Hopkinton, Rhode Island, financial resolutions. Resolution number 1, resolved in accordance with Rhode Island General Law 45-5-2 C, subsection 4, that the electors of the Town of Hopkinton qualified to vote on any proposal to impose a tax or for the expenditure of money in a town financial referendum lawfully assembled on the 8th day of June 2021 and rejected the proposed budget for fiscal year 2021-2022. The estimated tax rate for real and tangible property is $18.53 per thousand, an increase/decrease of
that's a
25.
decrease.
What's that?
I believe that would be decrease.
Okay, decrease of 25 cents from the current rate of $18.28. The tax rate for motor vehicles is $21.18. Resolution number 2. Resolved that the town finance director be and is hereby authorized and empowered to credit to any appropriations fund any receipts or donations which apply against that fund and all others not so designated to the general fund. Resolution 3. Resolved that the several appropriations specified be expended under the direction and supervision of the town council, except those pertaining to public school bills payable and interest, which sum shall be dispersed and paid out by the town finance director. Resolution number 4. Resolved that the town finance director of the town of Hopkinton be and is hereby authorized and empowered to borrow upon the credit of the town as the same may be necessary during the present fiscal year, such sum or sums as may be required to meet the expenses and obligations of the town, provided, however, that such loan shall not at any time exceed the sum of $1,500,000. Resolution number 5. Resolved that the expenditures in the 2020/2021 fiscal year budget identified by the finance director are hereby approved. So is there any discussion?
I'd like to direct a question to Solicitor Mr. Seipel. Don't you believe that every one of these resolutions should be voted on individually, or do you think they should be voted on collectively?
I believe that's the 2 resolutions, correct?
All right.
Right, so there's
Five
another resolution.
resolutions listed.
Yes, there's two, Scott. So, yes, we have the financial resolutions and then we have the tax resolution. So we should probably vote on both of those separately.
Yes.
Well, the text resolution, but in the
Well, we have the financial
resolutions,
resolution and the tax
there's
resolution.
4 different ones. I mean, 5 different ones.
Oh, Councilman Hurst, are you saying that, so I'm looking at the financial resolutions and I
Yeah,
see
there's 5 of
resolution
them
one.
listed. Should they be voted on separately or collectively? And then the tax resolution separate on a different page.
Right, so okay, so I see what you mean. So resolution number 1 through resolution number 5, should those be separate?
Or should they be collective?
I don't know if the council, if there's a risk that
I prefer to do them individually, and I'm not a lawyer, so, but for the sake of that, and unless there's a problem with it, I like to move the adoption of resolution number 1 of the financial resolutions.
if I could,
Okay,
I'd like to hear what Mr. Rosso has to say about that, because these finance issues are not something that I'm an expert on, and I'd like to know from his perspective if voting on them separately could cause a problem.
Yeah, sure. Good evening, council. I don't see any problem with that. If that makes people feel more comfortable, I don't see any issues with voting on them separately. Historically, they have been voted on collectively as the financial resolution, but I don't see any issue.
This is Council President Moffett. I mean, other than, I mean, Scott, do you have any objection to any one of these? I mean,
no, I'm going to
is there
withdraw
one that
my
you're
motion. I withdraw my motion and make a motion that all 5 financial resolutions be adopted.
Can I,
Yes, Sharon.
can we have discussion or do we have to?
No, we
do
can still
the-
discuss. We can discuss even if there's a
All right,
motion. That's fine.
I just think that resolution number 1 is a increase.
Yes,
It's
it is
not
an
a
increase.
If you're going from 1828 to 1853, that's an increase.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Marvel, I read it the same way, but also right before that, it says that the voters rejected this increase.
No, so can I explain that?
Sure.
So when the voters voted on July 8th, they rejected the budget, the proposed budget, which according to town charter, we have to go back to the alternate budget. The alternate budget is essentially last year's budget, but adjusted for this year's school budget. So this year's school budget was, I don't have it right in front of me, but along the tunes of 500,000. So the increase that we were facing in our proposed budget was like 600,000, and 500 was from the schools. So it's the tax rate's still going to go up because we still have to cover the increase from the school in our alternate budget. Does that make sense? So the only thing that was cut out, we will go back to last year's municipal budget, but we will update last year's, or I should say the current FY21. FY22, we used the operating budget from FY21, but we'll update it for the FY22 school budget, which was an increase of roughly 500,000. So we're still going to see a $500,000 increase in our tax.
I do have a question to the council president. Is my motion still exist without a second, or do I have to come up with another motion, or somebody has to come up with another motion? I'm trying to remember now.
Well, if you withdrew your motion, then your motion is.
Yeah,
no
but did
longer-
I withdraw it? Because
It sounded like you did.
did I withdraw my motion, Lisa?
Yes, the first motion you did.
How about the second one?
You did not. You made a motion, there was no second.
Okay. Then we're waiting for a
That's
second.
because we were talking.
I believe this, my second motion was to adopt all 5.
I
Yes.
will second that.
All in favor?
Hurst, aye.
Geary, aye.
Davis,
Marvel.
aye.
And Moffat, aye. The motion passes. The financial resolutions motion passes. Up next, I have the tax resolution, which I will read. Resolved that the town council of the town of Hopkinton, based on the budget adopted by the vote of the town council on June 21st, 2021, pursuant to section 2370 of the Hopkinton Town Charter, following rejection of the proposed fiscal year 2021-2022 budget by the voters at the financial town referendum on June 8th, 2021. Hereby impose a tax levy on a town council at a town council meeting held this 21st day of June, in order the apportionment and collection of a tax on the
Rateable.
rateable real estate and tangible personal property in a sum not less than $19,600,413 and not more than $20,600,413. Said tax is for ordinary expenses and charges of the town, for payment of interest and indebtedness, and for the purpose authorized by law. The assessor shall apportion said respective taxes upon the assessed valuations of the rateable property of said town as determined by the said assessor of the town as of the 31st day of December 2021 at 12 o'clock midnight according to law. The said respective tax levies shall be applied to the assessment roll as aforesaid, and the resulting tax roll certified by the assessor of the town clerk no later than the 15th day of July 2021. The town clerk, on receipt of said completed tax roll, shall forthwith make a copy of the same and deliver it to the town finance director, who shall forthwith issue and affix a said copy, a warrant under his hand, directed to the collector of taxes of said town, commanding her to proceed and collect said taxes of the persons and estates liable therefor. Said taxes shall be due and payable on and between the 1st day of August and the 8th day of September 2021, next and/or may be paid in equal quarterly installments. The first installment of 25 percentum on or before the 8th day of September 2021, and the remaining installments as follows: 25 percentum on the 8th day of December 2021, 25 percentum on the 8th day of March 2022, 25 percentum on the 8th day of June 2022. Each installment of taxes, if paid on or before the last day of each installment period successfully and in order, shall be free from all charges of interest. Excepting, however, that where the combined total of said tax and additional tax levied is an amount not in excess of $100, it shall be due and payable in a single installment on and between the 1st day of August and the 8th day of September 2021. If the first installment or any succeeding installments of taxes is not paid by the last date of the respective installment period or periods as they occur, then the unpaid quarterly payment shall be due and payable immediately and shall bear interest on any unpaid quarterly payments at the rate of 12 percentum per annum. Resolved that the collector of taxes shall collect and pay into this town's treasury as the same is collected the tax this day ordered. All right, is there any discussion or is there a motion?
Steve, Bob Marvel.
Yes, Bob.
Go ahead, Sharon. Go ahead, Sharon.
No, Bob, you can do it. I will
Okay.
second you.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask a question first
Sure.
on both of these. I wanted to ask the question before, while we were having the discussion on the other motion, but and I don't know if it's appropriate to bring it up now, but I know that some of the wording here is that the residents of the town assembled on the 8th day of June and voted to reject it. I don't know if I'm the only one who has deep concerns about the fact that only 160 or so people came out to vote. And the overwhelming response that I got when I asked people questions was that they were not aware that this vote was happening. So if it's not appropriate to discuss it now, I would like to get it on an agenda very soon so that we can figure out what happened and how we can go forward from there.
Steve, I kind of want to back up Bob's statement. Do we have a Facebook page? Does the town actually have a Facebook page? I talked to the IT guy today and I forgot to ask him. I know everybody's still in kind of COVID coma, and Steve, if I'm rambling, just stop me because I know we want to get going. We could probably have this discussion later, but there's some kind of like what Bob's saying. We need to have a discussion about how we get information out to, to the troops or to the public, if you would. So,
So what I'm going to suggest, Mike, is that I will put on the next agenda that we have a discussion to discuss this topic. I mean, I think it's something we should.
Yeah, I'm on board. I'm on board with it.
All right, so I'll put that on the next agenda, and we can discuss that then.
Well,
Okay.
I think that it should be on the next agenda, but one thing I'm going to push for is a bulk mailing about the date, because I don't believe in using voting addresses because they can change, but bulk mailing to the people of Hopkinton is the way to go, I think, and that's my solution. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I'm still waiting for a motion.
So this is Councilor Marvel. I will make a motion that we approve the tax resolution as read.
And I will second it. This is
Okay,
Councilor
with the
Davis.
Excellent. All in favor?
First, aye.
Marvel, aye.
Davis, aye.
Erie, aye.
And Moffat, aye. The tax resolution motion is passed. Thank you. All right, up next, we have the Rydam, Wyoming Upper Reservoir Dam repairs. We have a presenter here. I believe her name is Jillian Thompson. Jillian, are you there?
I am, yes. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Great, fantastic. And I think my colleague Mike Healy is going to lead us into this discussion, and I'm going to start sharing my screen in the meantime.
Okay, is he with you, or do I need to? I'm going to allow him to talk too. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
You're good. So, Mr. Healy, you have the floor.
Great, thank you. Good evening to Town Council President Moffat, to the members of the council, to Hopkinton residents, and to residents of Richmond who I'm sure are also following this topic with interest. My name is Mike Healy, and I'm the Public Affairs Officer at DEM, the Department of Environmental Management. It's been a long process leading up to this moment, but on behalf of DEM, I'm pleased and excited to share that the project to repair the Wyoming Dam is poised to begin. Repairing the Wyoming Dam is a high priority for the state of Rhode Island because it's classified as a high hazard dam. This means that there are real risks to life and property in the event of a failure. So in DEM's eyes, this repair work is primarily about protecting public safety. Obviously, however, there are many other aspects of this work and impacts too, and my DEM colleague will share those with you shortly. I'm just going to make a quick pitch for green economy bonds. Passage of the 2018 Green Economy Bond provided funding to ensure that this project would go forward. The 2018 bond passed Hopkinton with almost 71% of the vote, with more than 2,300 Hopkintonians supporting it. So if you ever wonder about the wisdom of bonds and long-term borrowing, wonder no more, because that's what's paying for this critical project. Repairing a dam is a very complicated project, very complicated. All construction projects are contingent on the weather, yet repairing a dam is highly contingent on the weather. DEM cannot promise that there will be no problems between now and the end of this job, but we can promise that we will be accessible and accountable and responsive when there are problems. So with that, I am pleased to introduce the manager of this important project, DEM Conservation Engineer, Jillian Thompson. Jillian.
Thank you, Mike. And I am going to share my screen now. And those who can see the screen, are you seeing my PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. So I just want to echo Mike's gratitude for having us here tonight. We do appreciate your time. Just to provide some additional background on this project, this is one of DEM's 7 state-owned high-hazard dams, 6 of which are currently in some form of design or construction for maintenance or repair, and Wyoming Dam being one of them. It does have the high-hazard classification, which means any failure of this dam will lead to probable loss of life downstream. So it is a priority for DEM to complete these repairs. It's been a process. As with all high hazard, significant hazard dams in Rhode Island, there are inspections that are required. Our 2014 inspection of this dam showed that there's a lot of overgrown vegetation, sinkholes forming, an inoperable low-level outlet, masonry walls that needed repairs. And because of this inspection, this report that we have, it was rated as unsafe in the annual dam safety report from DEM. So at that time, around 2015, DEM began the process of getting a design agent on board to get these repairs put into plan set so that we could get them done in construction. Between then and now, the green economy bond passed, $4.4 million for repair of high hazard dams, 2.9 million of which are going to this dam repair. So yeah, as Mike said, we're excited that we're finally to the point where construction can begin. And so for those who can see my screen, this is an aerial view of the dam from 2016. Dam components are labeled to, you're on the dam and you're facing downstream. So the left embankment is the one closest to the boat launch in the parking area. There's the sluiceway, which just allows water flow through a channel. The center embankment right next to the sluiceway, and then the spillway is the it's about 100 feet, and there's 3 different sections kind of at a 30-degree angle, and then the right embankment, which is by Prospect Square in Hopkinton. So this is just to orient you for what I'm about to talk about in terms of the construction and the repair. So as of today, J.H. Lynch and Sons was awarded the project. They received their notice to proceed. So we expect construction phase 1 to kind of start to begin in the next few weeks. And so that will focus on the area of the dam closest to the parking lot and the boat launch. And their first step will really be mobilizing to the site. So what you'll see is they'll be taking the parking area that is there. Temporary fence will go up. That's where they'll be staging all of their equipment and materials. And they'll be essentially creating an access ramp to the center embankment in the sluiceway. They're going to be doing some vegetation removal, vegetation that's grown through some of the walls and is kind of threatening the structural integrity, just removing those and filling in the root system area after it's gone. They will be replacing this. Right now, the sluiceway has timber stop logs.
Hey,
They will
Jillian?
be, yes.
Yes, Council, you're not to stop you real quick, but keep in mind, this is a very active area for fishing. A lot of the public use it. It is a handicapped accessible place. If you take that parking lot away, that takes those 2 things away.
It does, yeah, and we do recognize that, but
It would behoove DEM to make a statement, a local statement, that your access to this is going away.
Yeah, and that is in our press release.
Because anything anybody hates to see is all of a sudden a bunch of portable chain link fence that's thrown up, and no explanation, including
Right. And that's a very good point. And so DEM has also been in touch with the Wood Pawcatuck Watershed Association. They are going to be updating their website, their maps, their information as well with all of these expected closures.
Has
So
the local state representatives and senators been briefed on this, or at least given a courtesy mail that this spot will be closed?
yes, yes. Our legislative liaison at DEM has reached out to the representatives, yes.
And that
Or
would be-
they've reached out to us. It works both ways, but yeah, there has been communication. Yep.
Okay, I'm just trying to avoid a traffic jam for you, that's all.
No, thank you. I do appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. The sluiceway, right now there are timber stop logs. They will be replaced with aluminum lift gates, a little bit sturdier, easier to operate. The center embankment, the stone masonry in that area will be repaired, the gaps filled, repointed, rechinked, and there'll be a drilling program. So we'll be installing grout in the center embankment just to prevent any leakage through that area further. So it'll go from the surface through the bedrock, and that will provide just additional structural integrity. And then that third or so of the spillway will also be repaired. Same idea, new cap, the face of it will be repaired, rebuilt where necessary. And this will all be done with a porta-dam, a cofferdam, so this area will be dewatered. And that'll really be the first things that you'll see. The parking lot will be closed off, and then this porta-dam will be going, and it just looks like a big metal frame and large tarps, essentially, is what that's going to look like. And there will continue to be flow from Wyoming Pond over this 2/3 of the spillway that is not isolated in this, what we're calling phase 1 of construction. And there are pictures here just kind of giving you an idea of what the sluiceway, the spillway, what these look like now. There'll also be a new timber bridge that's going in, just so easier access for maintenance and emergency situations. So a new timber bridge will be going in to the center embankment. So that's phase 1. We are expecting that to start within the next 2 weeks or so. And so that will continue until approximately September, and we'll enter phase 2, and we'll move to the other 2/3 of the spillway in the right embankment closest to Prospect Square. This will also involve a porta-dam or a cofferdam, water control, and this will also involve a drawdown of the pond. So with these new sluiceway gates, that will be what we use to do the drawdown. Approximately 5 feet is what we expect the water level to drop. It will be done slowly, no more than 3 inches per day. And we have to do this because a new low-level outlet is going to be installed that is at obviously a lower elevation in the pond. And in order to safely get any sort of water control structure in there, we do need to drop that water level so we don't have the pressure. And it's a safety issue is really what it comes down to for the for Lynch and for everybody involved. And then with that, the new low-level outlet will be installed. The old one will be decommissioned. The same type of spillway repairs will be performed on the other 2/3, and then there will be a new concrete retaining wall installed at this right embankment. Because we are seeing some significant sinkholes forming and also seepage through this wall. So just some significant repairs on this side based on 2014 to now, what we're seeing happening. And again, pictures are included just to give you an idea of what we're looking at in this area. And we will share this slideshow so that it can be shared with constituents and anybody who can't see it right now, they'll be able to take a look later on. And so this is phase 2. The tentative schedule, as Mike said, we're expecting to hit some hiccups. This is very tentative at this point. We do have a dam safety permit, which controls when we can do our drawdown. It has to happen between July and October in any given year. That's the low flow period. So right now, if we can get started more or less in the near future, we are thinking we'll be able to hit the low flow season this year and be able to get all of the work done by April 2022. However, there are, some materials are really hard to get right now. There's a lot of time that needs to be taken in order to receive those, and so any sort of delays could push us potentially to next year with phase 2. But right now we're hopeful that this will all get done by April 2022. That's it. We again thank you for your time. And as Mike said, we are going to be accessible throughout the entirety of this project. Contractor, DEM, and our design agent and owner's rep as well. So.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson, I see a couple of hands up here in the audience. Do you have can you answer a question now, or do you prefer email or?
No, I'm willing to answer questions now.
Sure. I just see one hand up here, and I just wanted to make sure.
Sure.
Ms. Cologne, did you have a question regarding the dam?
Actually, Mr. President, this is Chris Shields. Jennifer is my wife. Live at 19 Skunk Hill Road, Hope Valley, Rhode Island. And I have a few questions for DEM regarding the issue that has been allowed to occur for more than 10 years. And I'm glad that DEM is finally going forward with the work. And having said that, we have a lot of concerns. My family has owned this property since 1976, and there are a lot of issues regarding how things have not only occurred, but have been allowed to perpetuate with associations in this area where the residents weren't even notified of meetings. And we're going to get to that. And I have a few questions. I know you said that the dam is going to be, the water is going to be lowered roughly 5 feet. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we have a certain elevation that we can't go below, and it's the number of feet that the pond will have to be lowered really depends on the conditions at the time that we start the drawdown. So, if the pond is lower than what our current design shows, then it might only be a 1 foot drawdown. It really depends on the conditions at the time.
Okay, Engineer Thompson, my concern is I have a point well system here, and its lifeblood is the pond that is directly in back of my house. Now, I realize that you're saying it could be as low as 1 foot, it could be 5 feet. I will tell you that since 1976, that point well, neither point well has ever failed. And that is even after the droughts where you could walk across 150 yards to get to the channel in front of the state police barracks. My question is, by drawing the water down, if an issue arises with our wells where we do not have water, who in DEM do we contact, and how are they going to rectify this situation? Because obviously the drawdown of the water is going to be directly affecting our point well system, correct?
I can't say that for sure. I mean, certainly surface water and wells interact with each other, but without knowing your well depth, where it's located on your property topography. I mean, that's a question I can't answer without a lot more information.
Okay, well, I will say this. DEM has the designs, the septic designs of my property. It is recorded. There are 2 wells on that property. They are recorded. And again, since 1976, at no time has either well had an issue. Are you telling me that I have to hire a private company to come in and monitor the wells to make sure that there is no issue with this drawdown? And if there is an issue, who in DEM is going to rectify it, and who do we call?
Sure. So I'm not telling you you have to hire anybody to do anything. Mike, would you want to jump in and provide some information on contact?
Yeah, am I back on?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All I can say, I'm sorry, sir, what's your name, please, again?
First name is Christopher. The last name is Shields. I own the property at 19 Skunk Hill Road, Hope Valley, Rhode Island. My family has owned this property since its inception. And the 2-point wells are fully functioning. They have been. They went through the superstorm in 2010 without a glitch. And we, even through the drought, where you could walk 150 yards across to get to the channel, where the only water was there, the wells did not fail. My concern is, if we don't know how long the drawdown is going to be, and you're going to alter the water level of the pond, and I'm not saying I don't want the repairs to the dam to be done. We want the dam repairs to be done. We've been pushing for this for years. The concerns are, if the water level is dropped to a point where the point well systems, which have been fully functioning since 1976, cease to function properly, what is the Department of Environmental Management going to do for me and my family at my house? Who do I call? Because it's now going to be an issue that the water was drawn down, it was moved, the aquifer has been changed, and now the wells are not producing. So I don't want to get to November or December or January or February and have a problem with my well and not be able to resolve it. So my question is twofold. If there's an issue, who do I call? And what is DEM going to do? And what have they done to check everyone who is going to be affected around this pond? Because the information is available.
So number one, if there is a problem, you should call me. You should contact me, Mike Healy, or email me, Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L .Healy, H-E-A-L-E-Y, at dem.ri.gov. I can't give you an answer right now because, as Jillian indicated a couple of minutes ago, we don't know what the water level is going to be when the drawdown happens. I want to say I hear you loud and clear. You're very clear on your concern. I hear you.
Okay.
And I will make sure that there's an answer for you before we get to that point.
That's really all I'm asking for, Mr. Healy, because I got to tell you, I've lived in this town for most of my life, and I chose to stay here primarily because what we have out in the back of this house is not available in a lot of places in this state. And it pains me when, since 2014, we know we have a problem. We know there's an issue. No action has been taken. And the residents in the town of Hopkinton who reside and live around this body of water aren't even brought to the table with members of the Department of Environmental Management, but yet a private grant influenced watershed association are there for the meetings. And let me tell you, that is not going to happen anymore. Mr. Fox, when he was the president, I don't know if he still is, I have the paperwork, you know what I'm referring to. The idea that they were not in favor of fixing the dam, and that we had a member, not we, But they had a member on that committee sitting in Richmond on a town council who wanted to take the dam down. Infuriates me. And I will not stand by and have it happen. Now, that member has since removed himself from the town council for reasons unknown, but I will tell you, I am not going to sit by and watch my family suffer one more minute because of the failures of the Department of Environmental Management, who's had care, custody, and control of this structure for more than 50 years. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I will tell you, we applaud the fact that it is being, the process is finally beginning. But I have concerns, and hopefully those issues don't arise. But anytime the people who are directly affected don't get notified, I never call, don't show up. I've had members of DEM show up at my house for Canadian geese, unexpected. The last thing I want to deal with is a Canadian goose. I'm concerned about the structure that is the lifeblood of this pond, not a Canadian goose. And if my tone sounds angered, it is. And it is not the fault necessarily of one person. Again, care, custody, and control of that structure. And it was supposed to be maintained, and it has not been. And now everything is coming to a head. We have people in this area who don't even know that this meeting was taking place tonight. And that is not right. This should have been, and I don't know, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, on the front page of the DEM website stating anybody interested in what is going on with this pond and this dam, please, there's going to be a council meeting, phone in, show up, what have you. And those are the problems that continually occur in this state. And I got to tell you, as a retired law enforcement officer, if I did my job that way, I wouldn't have been a law enforcement officer. So again, I appreciate your time. I'm glad that this is taking place, but the concerns that we have are real concerns. And you got to understand, it's not just about the drinking water. It's about the home. It's about our way of life here. We live it here. We don't do laundry here in the summer. We take it elsewhere to conserve water because everybody's pulling out of this pond. That's what we do.
Mr. Shields, thank you very much. I appreciate hearing that whole picture because, you know, I hear the frustration and the anger about having been kept out of meetings, which is extremely frustrating, especially when you're talking about your property and your family and your lifestyle. And I also appreciate your support for the project. I would say with regard to publicizing this meeting, DEM did put out a press release on Friday letting the press know that we were offering this overview of the repair project at the town council meeting tonight. And we put that on our social media channels too. So not contradicting your point, I'm sure that there's still more outreach we can do, but we are making good faith efforts to do that.
And that's all we ask for, is that there's an effort, that the line of communication is clear, because when it comes to something like this, they are life changers for the people involved.
Mr. Shields,
Yep.
thank you very much. All right. I don't have any other hands up here, so I'm going to move on to the
Really?
next.
There are no other hands?
I don't see any other hands. Oh, I see one hand now. Okay. Yep. All right. Hold on one second. allowed to talk about this. All right, hold on one second. I gotta. Dave S., could you just state your name and address for the record, please? All right, I don't see the name up there anymore. So, three. Nope. I don't see any other hands up, so I'm going to move on.
President Moffett,
Yes, sir.
Mike Healy, just one more note on community outreach. Just want to thank Acting Town Manager Rosso for connecting with me and with DEM last week to talk about this. And I and DEM will work with him and use whatever town channels you have to do some more community outreach. So we're glad to, do a more robust effort taking care of that notification.
Mr. Healy, hold on just 1 second, and thank you for making that comment. I'm going to unmute Dave S. Yes, Dave S., if you could just state your name for the record.
My name is Dave Siren. I live at 114 Arcadia Road. I just have a quick question. I'm just curious of what the look of the dam. From what I understand, it's just going to be like repairs. It's not going to be a whole new built dam. Is that correct?
Jillian, if you're still on, can you jump in?
Yeah, of course. Hi, Dave. Yeah, that's right. For the most part, the spillway, so the section where you're really seeing the water spilling over, that's going to look the same, just rebuilding some of the stone wall that's kind of fallen down and filling in the gaps that have formed over the years just to prevent seepage through that area. The one area that will change and look a little bit is the right embankment. There will be a new concrete retaining wall, but that is necessary because it's just a situation where you're seeing water coming through, there's sinkholes forming, and we have a new low-level outlet going in that area. So just structurally, that's something that's necessary. So that will look a little bit different, but everything will be loamed and seeded after it's done. There will be some downstream vegetation that's also removed, so it'll look a little more cleared out. But the dam itself, the main parts of it will look much the same. Yeah.
Okay. I guess I got one other question. Just curious about like a fish ladder or anything. You guys plan on doing anything with that?
There are no fish runs here, so no fish ladder is going to be incorporated.
Okay. I think that's it then. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Sarin. All right.
I got my hand up.
All right, Scott, go ahead.
I just have a question and an observation. Could anybody tell me what the average depth is of that pond? I'd like to know the average depth of the pond. And obviously I don't know how many people on that pond have points versus wells, which is something I'm interested in knowing, considering the fact that we're dealing with the Potty Hill River situation, and people are talking about points, and there's a water level concern there, and there's obviously going to be a water concern level in the Wyoming area. Just an observation, and while I'm disappointed in the DEM not realizing that Hopkinton and Wesley were both involved in the Potty Hill Dam situation, it seems that the DEM understands that pond is in Richmond and Hopkinton. Just an observation. Thank you.
Jillian, do you have the answer to that? Do you know what the average depth of that pond is?
I only have depths around the dam.
Okay.
I don't know what the average pond depth is. No.
All right, thank you. Is there any more questions? I don't see any other hands.
I was going to say for Councilor Hurst, I can follow up with Wood Pawcatuck River tomorrow to see if they have a good I would think that they have a good estimate of that or data on that, can follow back up with you.
I just wanted to know specifically the depth of the pond. And I just thought that the way the DEM is handling the situation with that pond in Wyoming between the town of Hopkinton and Richmond is a little different than the way the DEM has been handling the situation between Westerly and Hopkinton as far as the Potty Hill Dam. They seem to have went to Westerly. I know Hopkins included now, but it's just the approach the DEM had on that. Just an observation. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for that. I'm only vaguely aware of the issues surrounding the Potter Dam. I know that there are substantial issues, though, for both municipalities, and I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Well, I'm just concerned. It seems that there's not a consistency the way that DEM handled both situations involving two municipalities. That's all. Thank you.
Roger that.
Hey, Steve, I got one more quick question for you, the Jillian or Mike, real quick. I'll make it very brief. I know you want to.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Guys, we're going to be able to put up some kind of pre-warning signs that, hey, this parking lot will be closed or anything like that. Because you know how it is. It sounds like, everybody's still in COVID coma. Some people don't know there's meetings. Some people didn't know this. Maybe a little pre-warning sign just out saying, hey, on this date going forward, this parking lot area would be closed or something to that effect.
Great point. And I will follow up with Brian Rosso to make sure that we take care of that. It's 90% of happiness, let alone project management, is expectation management. So to your point, we have to manage expectations better.
Thank you very much, Director Jillian. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Up next, we have discuss, consider, and possibly vote to approve the payout of 160 hours of compensatory time, the amount accrued in fiscal year 2021 to acting town manager Brian Rosso.
Mr. President, okay, go ahead, Sharon. Mr. President, I make a motion that we do make that payment. Councilor Hurst.
Is there a second or any other discussion?
Council President, Councilor Geary, discussion.
Sure.
I'm in favor. Anybody that has owed money for somebody what Brian has done for the last, say, 18, 19 months,
yeah.
Something like that's fine. The only question I have is how is the town manager's contract written for stuff like that, or how do other municipal or town employees get paid? How is that written? In other words, we have a natural disaster and say DPW they're working overtime or they can't take vacation. How is that written? How is that written in somehow?
I would not be able to answer that. Brian, is that something you could answer?
Sure. I can step in. This is Brian Rosso, the town manager. Well, I guess there's no answer to that question, Councilor Geary, because all the union contracts are differently. The town manager's contract does not really specify. There's no cap to accrual, and I can tell you that this was an issue in the past where former town manager Geary, Mr. Geary was paid out on several occasions for his comp time. The thing is, in an ideal world, this would be an issue, but I took 3 days off and it was like 242 emails the next day. So I just quickly realized that there's no way I'm going to be able to use 4 hours of comp or 4 weeks of comp time. And on top of that, my vacation time. So as it is, as I stated in the memo, I'm probably going to lose a bunch of vacation time this year. So I just thought instead of losing both, this was something that we could do this fiscal year, and it wouldn't a huge burden to the town, considering the same in benefits salary for that position this fiscal year. So I don't know if I answered your question directly, but it's a little bit because each union contract, like you mentioned, Public Works, their contract is different than the police, and some contracts they don't even have comp time. The police generally get paid for their overtime, so it's a different depending on the bargaining unit. And for the town manager position, it's really just it has been accrued, and when it's not excessive, the council has paid it out at least on a couple occasions that I'm aware of with Mr. McGee.
Does that help, Counselor?
I believe my motion deserves a second.
This is Bob Marvel. I'll second it.
With the second, all in favor?
First, aye.
Marvel, aye.
Davis,
Gary,
aye.
Gary, aye. Brian, learn to plug your phone and walk away for the day.
And Moffat, aye.
Makes
Motion
life-
passes to approve a comp town payout.
Makes life a lot easier sometimes. Just walk away from it. If it's that important, they'll come find you.
That's very true.
Really noted. Thank you, guys.
There's no truer statement.
Go hide.
They'll find you. All right. So up next, we have the public forum. So if there's anyone in the public who would like to speak at this time, please raise your hand. If you are calling on a phone, it's *9, or just to hit the little raise your hand button on your computer. Okay, one more chance. All right, I'm not seeing any hands. So we're going to have an executive session here. So I'm going to need to make or have a motion to go into executive session. Then at that time, I'm going to go through here before we start the executive session and remove anyone who is on this list here now. So the meeting officially for the public is over. We haven't closed it out because we're going to executive session. So if you are not to be in executive session, could you please? All right, got two more.
I believe you still need a motion, though.
I mean, I'm just reading off the agenda here. It says public forum, and then we're going right into executive session. So,
Yeah, I think you still need a motion, though, legally.
a motion to what, Scott? To go into executive session?
Yeah, and you got to
Yes.
cite the reason for it.
Yeah, we're going to do that. I'm just waiting for people to vacate the meeting right now.
Okay,
because-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Bob K. Who's Bob K? Bob K, I'm going to have to ask you to vacate the Zoom meeting if you could, please. If not, I'm going to have to, yeah. We don't know
Yeah.
Bob K, right?
No, it's possible that he just walked away from his computer, though. I'm sure.
Okay.
that
All right, so I'm
happens.
going to
So,
remove
like,
him from it.
Yeah.
All right, Bob K is removed. So hold on, I just want to double check here, make sure we got everybody we need. So we got the 5 counselors. We've got Lisa, Brian, and Mr. Seipel. That makes it 8. Okay, so I just have to lock the meeting. Hold on one second. Okay, hold on. Steve, do we record the executive session?
I would suggest that we don't.
Okay. All right. All right. I just want to make sure I can lock this and then no one's going to pop in on this. Give me 1 second here. You know, Bob, you know how sometimes there's those 3 dots up on the.
Yes, on the attendees list.
Yeah, because I'm looking how to, I might,
Are you the host? Did you log in? It might, Councilor Geary might have to do it if it's
What's that? What you got?
from the town laptop.
The only people I show is you, Bob, Steve.
yeah, we're looking, Mike, what we're looking for is to lock the meeting. So if you scroll down towards the bottom, I think there's might be 3 dots.
Yeah, so at the bottom of the attendees list,
Yeah,
where
it
it
says
says us.
participants, there's 8 it shows right now.
Yep, and at the bottom, there's a couple of buttons. I think one of them just has 3 dots.
No, not seeing it.
Hmm.
Just got mute, stop video, participants, share screen, leave.
Hold on,
Steve,
I got 3
believe-
dots right here. Hold on
Yeah,
1 second.
I think you're the host, I believe.
Yeah, I'm gonna lock the webinar. The webinar is locked. Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. I wasn't on panelist tab. I was on the attendees tab.
So the only 2 phone numbers I show, I believe, are Sharon and Lisa.
Yep. No, we are good to go. So what I'm gonna do is stop the recording, and then I will hit record when we adjourn the meeting.
You want me to stop video from here?
I can do that right here, I think. Yes. I want to record the vote going to.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
You got it.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Executive session, recess to executive session under Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5. I think it's subsection A,
5A,
subsection 4. Any investigative proceeding regarding allegations of misconduct or either civil or criminal. Do I have a motion?
Scott Bill Hurst, move.
All in favor?
Sharon Davis, second.
Aye.
Hurst, aye.
Marvel, I.
Moffat, aye.
Davis, aye.
All right. I'm gonna stop the recording.
Mr. President, you got to make your announcement.
Yes, I'm going to make a
another one.
statement that no votes were taken in executive session. I'd like to, consider and vote on a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session. Do I have a
Mr.
motion?
President, I make a motion that we seal the minutes of the executive session.
Marvel here, I second.
Gary, aye.
First, aye. Should
Marvel,
I,
Moffat, aye.
Davis, aye.
should have made a motion to reconvene an open session first, though, right?
It's fine. You
You're fine.
could have skipped over.
Should,
Let's adjourn.
so I
It's fine.
jumped the
It's
gun.
fine.
Can I move to adjourn?
You sure can.
It'd be a great pleasure to make this motion to adjourn.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
First, aye.
Good night.
Marvel, I.
Moffat, aye. Thank you very much.
Thank
Night.
you. Good night.
Good night.